Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World is One. This is Speed News. I'm Shivan Chan. Now, let's start. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said he expects to complete a new Gaza offensive fairly quickly. The statement came as the UN Security Council heard new demands for an end to suffering in the war-ravaged region. Netanyahu said he had no choice but to complete the job and defeat Hamas to free the hostages seized from Israel. The statements were made after Netanyahu's security cabinet on Friday approved the plan to take control of the Gaza city.
Front page. Muhammad Zakaria is on. He's being delivered. Yeah.
Israel's military said that it targeted and killed a Hamas cell leader posing as an Al-Jazeera journalist in an airstrike on Gaza City on Sunday. As per Gaza officials, Anas al-Sharif was among a group of 4 Al-Jazeera journalists and an assistant who died in a strike on a tent near Shifa Hospital in eastern Gaza City. The Israeli military said in a statement Al-Sharif was the head of a Hamas cell and was responsible for advancing rocket attacks against Israeli civilians and IDF troops. The Israeli military cited intelligence and documents found in Gaza as evidence. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese announced that Australia will formally recognize a Palestinian state. The announcement follows weeks of calls from cabinet members and public voices urging recognition amid mounting criticism over the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Leaders of France, Britain and Canada who have signalled similar moves.
Has received from the Palestinian Authority.
Netanyahu spoke with US President Donald Trump about Israel's new Gaza offensive plans on Sunday. Statement by the Israeli Prime Minister's office said the two discussed Israel's plans to take control of the remaining Hamas strongholds in Gaza to bring an end to the war by securing the release of the hostages and defeating Hamas. Statement also mentioned that Netanyahu expressed gratitude for Trump's steadfast support in carrying out the plan.
The situation where the Houthis, for the first time ever.
The deputy head of the United Nations nuclear watchdog will visit Iran in an effort to rekindle frosty ties. Iran Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said that there will be no inspection of nuclear facilities. The visit would be the first following Israel and Iran's 12-day war in June, when some of its key nuclear facilities were struck by the United States. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian warned that parts of the country, Tehran, are faced with a serious water crisis. He made the remarks in a meeting with several Iranian media directors in Tehran on Sunday while highlighting the measures that his administration is implementing to tackle the crisis. Pezeshkian said round-the-clock efforts were being made to transfer water from the nearby dam to Tehran to ensure sufficient water in the province during autumn. A 6.1 magnitude quake struck Sindirgi in western Turkey on Sunday, killing at least one person and injuring dozens more. The quake was felt across several cities in the west of the country, including Istanbul and the tourist hotspot of Izmir. Turkish Interior Minister Ali Yerlikaya said an 81-year-old person died soon after having been rescued from under the rubble. Pakistan's Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir has launched a series of thinly veiled and direct threats against India, and this time from the US soil. During a private dinner event in Florida's Tampa, Munir engaged with Pakistani Americans, calling them the country's pride, and made several inflammatory comments against India. He raised the long-standing dispute over the Indus Waters Treaty, suggesting that if India proceeds with the dam construction, Pakistan would strike back, destroying the dam. Munir also raked in the Kashmir issue, saying that Kashmir was not an internal matter of India, but instead an incomplete international agenda. A Chinese warship colliding with a China Coast Guard vessel while the two ships were shadowing a Filipino patrol boat. Footage released by Manila showed a China Coast Guard ship and a much larger vessel bearing the number 164 on its hull colliding with a loud crash. Officials from the Ministry of External Affairs will brief the MEA Standing Committee today on the ongoing US-India trade negotiations and tariff issues. And this comes after the US administration cited India's purchase of Russian oil as a trigger for additional 25% tariffs on top of the 25% reciprocal tariffs announced before. India is set to boost its naval firepower. Two frontline stealth frigates are set to join India's naval force on the 26th of August. This will be the first time when two major combatants built by different Indian shipyards will enter service together. The INS Udaygiri, built by Mazgaon Dock Shipbuilders in Mumbai, and the INS Himgiri, built by Garden Reach Shipbuilders in Kolkata, are both part of India's Project 17A frigate program. These ships are an upgraded version of the Shivalik class, designed to be harder to detect on enemy radar, displacing about 6,700 tons each. The ships use a combined diesel or gas propulsion system known as Kodog and are managed by an integrated platform management system. Their weaponry includes supersonic surface-to-surface missiles. South Korea's former First Lady Kyun Hee is in the eye of the storm over a series of allegations involving stock manipulations, political interference and bribery. Days after South Korean prosecutors questioned her over a series of graft charges, the agencies raided a construction company linked to bribery allegations involving the former First Lady. Search and seizure was carried out against Seo Hee construction company that is suspected of possibly gifting a luxury necklace to Kim in return for a favor involving a government position. Eight people were killed and two others wounded when a group of gunmen opened fire on a crowd outside a nightclub in a town in southwestern Ecuador. The gunmen arrived in two pickup trucks and opened fire on people drinking outside the nightclub in Santa Lucia. Police say heavily armed attackers arrived on motorcycles and in two vehicles. The motive is still unknown. The attack came 2 days after gunmen attacked a boat near El Oro province along the country's southwest coast. Protesters gathered outside the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Detention Center in Florida on August 10th. The protesters held a vigil in support of detainees and denounced conditions at the facility known as Alligator Alcatraz. Demonstrators carried signs that read "Abolish ICE" and "Alcatraz is inhumane," chanted for the closure of the center, which holds immigration detainees awaiting legal proceedings.
Not turn away. And we will not turn away.
Scientists have found a series of stone tools on Indonesia's Sulawesi island. They say it may be evidence of humans living 1.5 million years ago on islands between Asia and Australia, the possible earliest known hominids in the Sulawesi region. Archaeologists from Australia and Indonesia found the small chipped tools used to cut little animals and carve rocks under the soil in the region of Sopeng in South Sulawesi. Radioactive tracing of these tools and the teeth of animals found around the site were dated at up to 1.48 million years ago. In Colombia, people paraded in the traditional Siliteros Parade, which is the main event of the Medellin Flower Festival. The parade has been taking place for over 50 years and honors the city's flower growing traditions and includes various other activities like dog shows, automobile parades, and beauty contests. In the Indian state of Uttarakhand, rescue and relief work continues on a war footing mode in Dharali of Uttarkashi. Devastating flash floods in the region on the 5th of August claimed lives of at least 5 people and left hundreds of families scrambling for food and shelter. While at least 1,200 people have been rescued, so far 49 people are still reported missing. The army is playing a pivotal role in opening the blocked roads in disaster-hit areas, rescuing people and providing all possible help to those affected. Additionally, ground-penetrating radars are being used to search for the missing people, which identify humans or metal objects buried under the ground. Various wildfires forced the evacuation of 1,400 people on Sunday in the Spanish region of Castile and Leon. On Sunday afternoon, fire reached the towns of Carrizudo and Las Medullas World Heritage Site. Due to a severe change of wind conditions, the blaze prompted emergency evacuations in those towns of the Leon province. Firefighters have contained a massive wildfire in southern France but still face a complicated struggle. Officials warn that scorching heat and dry winds could reignite the blaze. A wildfire broke out on Arthur's Seat, the extinct volcano overlooking Scotland's capital, Edinburgh. On the 10th of August, Arthur's Seat is the highest point of Holyrood Park near Scotland's Parliament and the end of Edinburgh's famous Royal Mile. Police advised motorists and pedestrians to avoid the area as it is a popular vantage point for visitors for its views of the city. Residents of Mirash village in southeastern Kosovo battled a wildfire on the 10th of August using water and basic tools to prevent the flames from engulfing hundreds of homes. Drone footage showed the fire spreading across a large portion of the mountain with thick smoke billowing behind houses in the village. The US dollar stabilized after last week's losses as markets await key US CPI report for July and focus on developments in trade talks between Washington and Beijing ahead of a deadline to avoid the imposition of higher tariffs. The dollar index was flat after a 0.4% decline last week. The dollar was unchanged against the yen. Trade talks were in focus as Trump's August 12th deadline for a deal between the US and China loomed, particularly around chip policy. In crypto markets, Bitcoin rose 3% to 122%. Pardon me, that's Bitcoin rose 3% to $122,000, not far from its previous record. Most of the crypto tokens are trading in the green as the cryptocurrency market today. The rally is in Bitcoin prices is mainly because of the sharp surge in Ethereum prices, which is trading well above $4,300. And that's the highest price for Ether since December 2021, after the digital token jumped over 16% in the last 7 days. Bitcoin price today has jumped massively by 3% in the last 24 hours and is holding strong above the $122,000 mark as the crypto market cap remains above $2.33 trillion. Binance Coin and Solana are also in the green, while Dogecoin and Cardano see mild declines. Oil prices fell in early trading as they extended declines of more than 4% last week on higher US tariffs on its trading partners and OPEC output hike and expectations. The US and Russia were moving closer to a Ukraine ceasefire pact. Brent crude futures trade around $66 a barrel, while oil futures fell to trade around $64 a barrel. US President Trump said on Friday that he would meet with Russian President Putin on the 15th of August in Alaska to negotiate an end to the war in Ukraine. On top of US-Russia talks, US inflation data on Tuesday will be another key price driver this week. Nvidia and AMD have agreed to give the US government 15% of revenue from sales to China. And that includes the sale of advanced computer chips like Nvidia's H20 that are used for artificial intelligence applications. US President Trump's administration halted sales of these H20 chips to China in April, but Nvidia last month announced the US said that it would allow the company to resume sales and it hoped to start deliveries soon. China represents a significant market for both companies. Nvidia generated $17 billion in revenue from China in the fiscal year ending January 26, representing 13% of total sales. AMD reported $6.2 billion in China revenue for 2024, accounting for 24% of total revenue.